Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 113. My name is Jason. I am the owner of Outdoor Legacy. We specialize in all things night vision and thermal imaging. And if you're looking for any kind of night vision or thermal, be sure to give us a call or check us out. And sitting here patiently waiting, I've got my good buddy Hans from the Hans East Texas YouTube channel, legendary hog and coyote hunter, a world famous. I hear he's really big in Japan. So welcome,
It's
Hans.
South Korea. Come on, man.
South Korea. I'm sorry. North Korea is what I heard.
North
but
Korea. Yeah, I've
whatever.
been invited to North Korea. I don't think they'd let me come back, but I've been invited there.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So just when you thought the coronavirus was about over, it's fired
Man.
back up down here in Texas. So we are or getting back in restricted mode again. But the good side and the bright side of that, it just means more hunting for everybody. If they're stuck at home, the wives don't want them there all day during the day. They're usually at work and tell them to go hunt at night. So, there's some sunshine in the darkness a little bit. More hunting.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one silver lining you can
It's a silver
find.
line. But this is want to wish everybody a happy Independence Day. So happy birthday, America.
Not sure how many more of those we're gonna have, but that's another topic for another
We'll
show.
have to start a political channel, I think, because
We should. That's what we should do. We should start another podcast.
Yeah.
It could be all about our extreme beliefs on politics, and I don't know, probably not be good. Probably be
It'd get-
bad. Probably
we'd-
end up on another watch list.
We'd get 2 shows and then they'd cancel us. YouTube would censor us.
You
forever.
think we'd get to the second one?
Yeah,
no,
probably not. But hey,
it's
thank y'all.
possible.
Yeah, thank y'all for joining us. Other piece of good news before we get into the topic today. Jason and I are going to be hunting together this week. I'm excited about going down there to Nacogdoches, and taking my wife, and the wife they're going to hang out and have a good time. I don't know what they're going to do, but they'll have a good time just sitting around talking. And
Yeah, I'm sure they're probably going to find something for us to do, which will mean we don't get to hunt that much. But
yeah, we're gonna try to sneak out at your house because Jason's got the way you
I got
talk. You
hogs.
got like dozens of hogs every
I
night.
do.
So
Right now, I have got hogs, and I'm going to tell y'all something. I just want everybody to know about this. This is an important thing. So, I, Jason Robertson, am a dedicated co-host. The running joke is that every week we get ready to record this podcast late at night, and on my way up here to record, I'm always scanning my pasture, and boom, there's hogs. And I don't have time to go hike down there, cross fences, shoot them, do all this stuff. So, as much as it pains me, I let them go for another night. Tonight, again, I predicted it. As I get ready to come up here, there are hogs down there. It just kills me. I just close the door and I just say, whatever they tear up, I'll fix tomorrow. Hans, on the other hand, we're just about ready to hit record, and he goes, hang on a minute. My cell phone camera just buzzed. I got a hog out here. We got to stop. We can't start the show. I'm like, I've already passed up a dozen hogs tonight.
I said,
oh, no,
give
not
me
him.
3 minutes. I can get it done in 3 minutes.
30 minutes. And
Yeah,
so
I
here
get out
we
there-
are while he's out there in his Crocs and his,
Oh yeah.
trying to chase down a hog while I'm on the phone with him.
Oh yeah. I keep Jason on the phone just for entertainment. But I got out there and that hog had already left. He walked out there, looked at the bait pile, and turned around and left. The worst thing for you is me getting that texting game
is.
camera that sends me pictures to my phone. That was the worst thing for you that could have happened. But yeah, thank y'all. I'm looking forward to going down there and hunting a little bit with Jason. We'll get to see if we get into any hogs. If it turns out the way that it usually does,
It's not good.
Not going to be
When we get
good.
together, if I have a little bad luck and Hans has a little bad luck and you put us together, we have a lot of bad
lot of
luck.
bad
That's
luck.
just the
Yeah.
way it kind of goes.
Jason could be covered up with hogs. I get there and there's not a hog in the county. But
I'm going to go ahead and go out here on the limb and say this. I have been covered up with hogs more than I have been in well over a year. So if he gets down here and we don't have any hogs, there's just some bad luck, some bad juju because
Yeah.
it's not happening. All right, let's
Yeah.
give them what they came here for.
So a lot of times we talk about anticipated scopes. This is a
Every
hot
week.
scope every week. I know people probably but here's the thing: if you hear about it on this show, it's going to be a good scope, and there's going to be a lot of
Right.
people asking about it. So we are excited to talk about all the scopes that we talk about because, like I said, if you hear it here, there's a reason. We have what is going to be Pulsar's number one selling scope this year, I'm sure. We have a full review this week of the Pulsar Thermion XQ38. This is the one. I mean, when they announced this, people were going crazy. The phones were going crazy. This is the scope that the people wanted to see in 2019. And we've got it in our hands finally after, we found out about it in January. It's almost July. We got it in our hands. Very limited availability, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to purchase one of these units, get with Jason, outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call him at 877-350-1818 because after this review, I'm pretty sure if you're looking for a scope in this price range and with these specs, you're going to want to check this out and talk to somebody about it.
So Hans already said this, and we kind of, teased some of this out in last week's episode. And I think I made the comment then that this is the number one selling thermal rifle scope on the market, and it's barely even here yet. And again, we're recording this in, obviously, 1st of July, because July 4th this weekend. So first week of July, and obviously you may be listening to this way down the road, but this unit, the pre-orders that we've received are unprecedented. The pre-orders that Pulsar has received are unprecedented. I mean, this thing is crazy. People want it.
Yeah.
And it's hot. And I'm going to tell you why. So this is even before we kind of get into what all the specs, the scope is. One of the reasons that this thing is so hot is because when Pulsar came out with the new Thermions in 2019, the lowest magnification unit, just kind of the standard units, those were the XMs, was 4 power. So to get below that, you had to get up in the $4,500 range. So that ruled out a lot of people. So the average hog hunter in the South did not need 4 power. So they wanted something lower than that, and Pulsar didn't have it. So we went for, basically the last 6 months of last year with these new Thermions, didn't have that magnification that a lot of hog hunters needed. Then they announced this in January. It's been 6 months coming. So we've basically gone for a year without having, this magnification.
And when they announced it, I mean, immediately before knowing that much about it, they knew a couple things. Well, a few things. They knew it looked like the Thermions of 2019. They knew that it was going to be a lower magnification, and they knew the resolution. That was pretty much the only three specs they knew. People were calling like crazy and back ordering since day one. Since they announced it, people have been back ordering it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has just been, people knew. I mean, here's the thing. When you've already got the Thermion, so people knew what they were. They knew they liked them. They knew they were quality. You've got a brand like Pulsar. People like it. People trust them. They've come out with increasingly good stuff, so it was a safe buy. So anyway, with that said, it's not an exaggeration that this is the best-selling scope of the year, and in my opinion, it will be one of the, if not the top thermal for a couple of years. It's going to be hard for somebody to push this scope off of its pedestal, and maybe somebody will, but it's going to be a great one. So I'm going to jump on in. We've talked it up enough without even telling you what it is. Again, this is the Pulsar Thermion XQ38, and if you're not familiar with the Thermions, we're going to just kind of go over some of the specs and the features. If you're already familiar with them, it's going to be just like the others, but we know a lot of people are going to be coming to these for the first time and not familiar with the Thermion. That is anything that has a Thermion name is in a 30 millimeter aluminum scope tube housing. Looks just like a daytime rifle scope. If you put it on your rifle, throw it in the back of the truck or walk across the room, it looks like a daytime scope. And so that's what it is. Takes standard 30 millimeter rings. The XQ38 comes in at a price tag of $32.99. So $3,299. It has got a 2.5 power base optical magnification. It's got 4 times digital zoom, so it goes up to 10 power. So 2.5 to 10. Now we'll kind of get into some of that in a little bit later, but you're not going to want to use this thing at 10 power. You're going to want to use it somewhere in the 2.5 to 5 power at most, because the more you go up with your digital zoom, the grainier the image is going to get, the lower the resolution. So you want to stay around that 2.5 to 5 power. It's got a 32 millimeter objective lens. It's going to have about a 56-foot wide field of view at 110 yards, which is a nice, on the wider side, at least average to wider side of field of views. It's got a 384 by 288 ULIS thermal core. It's 17 microns at 50 hertz refresh rate. It's got an AMOLED display, and the resolution is 1024 by 768, and this is a full color display. Now, that confuses some people. They think, oh, I'm going to look out there and see full color. No, what that full color allows is it allows the scope to have different color palettes. A lot of people are familiar with that. You've seen this in the movies. You've seen it in advertising. It attracts a lot of people. Maybe you've got the unit that looks like, everything's blue, or the hot stuff is red. So those are, options, color palettes within the scope that you can get because it has this full color AMOLED display. But it also has the standard black hot and white hot, which is what 99% of thermal hunters use. That display is, the display is one of the things that basically is, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. When a unit has the how cold a temperature it can be used in, that rating is often based on the display, because that's the limiting factor. That's the word I was looking for. The limiting factor a lot of times, is the display. With this AMOLED, it is rated down to negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit. So northern hunters can use this as well. The whole scope has an IPX7 rating. That means it is fully submersible, 3 foot of water for 30 minutes. It has 5 zeroing profiles. So you can put this on 5 different rifles as long as you have a high-end quality return to zero mount and you return it to the exact same Picatinny slots that it was in when you took it off. So 5 rifle profiles. It does have the standard Pulsar feature of picture-in-picture. It's rated for up to and including the recoil of a 375 H&H or a 12-gauge shotgun. Now, that's a question we get a lot, and it's something that we forget to mention. I forget to mention a lot of times. But so 308s, 6.5 Creedmoors, all the standard stuff, all the way up to that 375 H&H or a 12-gauge. It does have video and audio recording built in. It's got a smartphone app, and then for streaming, and it also has a removable, rechargeable battery pack system. Now, I want to talk real quick about the batteries for those that aren't familiar with the Thermions. It is a 2 battery pack system. There is one battery that is internal that cannot be removed by the end user. That battery is rechargeable, but it, again, is permanently in there. It can only be serviced by Pulsar themselves. And then on the top of the scope, there's what looks like a turret, but it's really just, it's kind of a fake deal. You just twist and a cap comes off and a battery about the size of your thumb drops right in there. Now, as the unit comes right out of the box, the bench test that we've done on this unit, you're going to get around 6 hours and 12 minutes of battery life. Now, we're going to be conservative because we know that's the bench test. That's turning it on, leaving it on endlessly. That's not video recording. It's not running the Wi-Fi. It's not zooming in and out. It's not turning it off and on. All these things which, cause the battery life to go down because it puts extra strains and drains on them. Realistically in the field, being conservative, 4.5 to 5 hours is reasonable. You can buy a larger battery for $99 called an APS3 to go in the top of that slot up top. And if you use that larger battery, you can probably increase that battery life by around an hour to an hour and a half, give or take. So you can be getting up somewhere in that 5.5 to 6 hours with the larger battery. It also has a USB port on it. You can plug that into your computer to pull off all your pictures and videos that you've taken and recorded internally. But you can also plug in any standard USB external battery pack, and you can run that scope all night long if that's something that you needed to do or wanted to do. Did I leave anything out?
No, I've got the scope, and I want to explain a couple things because I'm showing it.
Okay.
It does come with an extended rubber eye cap. It does not have it on this unit, but sticks out 2 or 3 inches. It's just a soft rubber eye cup that you can put on there to if you feel like you need it. Jason and I shoot these without them. Feels more comfortable to us without them, but it does have that and include that in the box. For focusing, it has a big rubber grommet here on the objective lens side of the scope that you turn to focus on the objective lens, and then a smaller rubber grommet right here on the eyepiece for focusing the eye diopter. So 2 different focuses. Like Jason said, it's the same Thermion design. If you're familiar with it, you've seen it before. If not, this is your first look. Looks very much like a traditional rifle scope, but strongly suggest the American Defense Manufacturing mount, the QD, one-piece QD mount that goes with it. Jason and I use that mount exclusively for these Thermions, and it's the best mount that I've seen out there on the market. You can get those at outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call us for them, $180. It's the best investment or accessory that you're going to buy with this scope, because if you hunt a lot like Jason and I do, if you shoot suppressed, you're cleaning your rifle constantly. I take off my rifle scope every time so I can get in there and do a deep clean it out. I have to clean my rifle every 50 to 100 rounds, and I don't even test this scope when I put it back on. I stick that thing right back on, and I'm out there taking 100-yard headshots.
I'm telling you,
and I hit about 30% of the time. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it does.
That mount is legit.
It is legit.
And we've plugged American Defense before. They are an American company. Mm-hmm. It's an American-made mount by Americans in America.
No, it's a great mount.
It's a great mount. It's a lifetime guarantee on the mount, and it does return to zero. So here's the deal. A lot of guys call and they say, I want to put this on my AR-15, and maybe I've got a bolt gun with a Picatinny rail, and I want to put it on that. Maybe I've got a 308, and multiple rifles. If you're going to want to do that, you're going to need one of these high-quality return-to-zero mounts. And I've had some guys say, man, I don't know, it's $180. I get that. I totally do. But if you're going to put a $3,300 scope and you want to move it around, you don't need to have it on a $50 mount.
No,
you need to get – again, if you're just going to mount it and leave it permanently, probably just fine. Yeah. But if you're going to start pulling them off back, putting them back on, you better get a legit mount.
You're exactly right. Took the words right out of my mouth. If you're going to get a $3,300 scope, put it on a good mount. I'd like to say if there is others out there, I don't know of any that I feel like that is the quality of the American Defense Manufacturing, but I use it on all the Thermions that I have or test. We always put it on American Defense Manufacturing. We sight in a bunch of rifles. We sight in a bunch of scopes. We're constantly switching back and forth. Constantly. And that is the best scope that you can find out there on the market. If you want to have a good, enjoyable experience, if you hate sighting in rifles as much as Jason and I do, get you a good mount. I promise you, you will thank us later.
Okay, so tell us, 2.5 power base mag. We've already reviewed the big brother of this unit that's been out for, I don't know now, probably nearly 2 months.
2 months.
The XQ50. It's a 3.5 power. We really liked that unit. Thought it was great for the coyote hunter, or maybe the guys that are hunting hogs on, farm country, big fields. Tell us, what do you think about this 2.5 power?
I was a big fan of the XQ50, the 3.5 power. I hunted with it, for 2 months. and
You still are.
well, yeah, still hunting.
I
And
I say that, folks. I'm trying to get him to send that thing back, and it
yeah,
seems to be permanently attached to his rifle. But that's
well,
okay.
we'll see about that. But I'll tell you this: it is. I was a big fan, and it did take a little bit of because I'm usually hunt with the Thermion XP50, which is the 640 resolution scope, 2 power base magnification. So when I jumped up to the 3.5 power, it took a little bit to get used to. And the more you get used to it, the more you start relying on that 3.5 power. I didn't, see it as a problem having too much magnification down here, taking 50-yard shots, and if something ran. But 2.5 power is the sweet spot. And when you and I talk about scopes, especially for southern hog hunters, and we're getting with scope manufacturers and companies, and they ask us about, if you could build your dream scope, what would it be? We usually start out by saying 2.5 power.
Yeah.
That's the magnification that is our sweet spot, that we get the most response from end users, from customers, that's what they like. So starting out, I think the magnification is great. I love the 2.5 power. Very wide field of view. If you are, the worst thing is lining up on a group of 20 hogs at 50 yards, and you start shooting and it's too much magnification. You start losing hogs, meaning you can't follow them, fast enough, because it's such a narrower field of view. But the 2.5 power, I think, is perfect. So starting there, they did it right. I'm glad they went with the 2.5 power versus the 4 power that we had with the XM38 that came out last year.
Yeah, I think that, here we're going to bring up another brand in the middle of this. But if you look at Trijicon, who's been around a long time, as IR Defense originally, you look at these scopes, especially before some of their newer stuff came out in the last 2 or 3 years, the vast majority of their scopes, and still to this day, are 2.5 power.
Yeah.
Well, that's not an accident. It's a safe magnification.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too much for the average guy hunting close range. If you're hunting in the woods, like you're literally in the woods, maybe you don't need 2.5 power. Maybe you need that, low magnification of that 1.5, 1.6, somewhere in there. But 2.5 is a safe distance for that. It also allows the guy who says, I'm probably only going to be shooting 100, 125 yards, but maybe some stuff out there at 200, maybe even 250 in a worst case scenario. You zoom that thing one time up to 5 power, or use the picture-in-picture function that Pulsar has, and now you're again at 5 power. Most people are comfortable shooting 200 to 225 yards pretty easily at night on 5 power. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely think this is a good sweet spot. Again, we're speaking mostly for the southern hog hunter, or I do talk to guys up north that are hunting coyotes, and they're not in farm country, or if they are, they're hunting in smaller fields. They may only see 250, 300 yards max. This is the scope that fits that very well.
Think about 2 years ago when we were talking about the Pulsar Trail XQ50s at 2.7 power. Mm-hmm. And how many of those coyote hunters up north that would call and specifically want that scope because of the higher base magnification? So the new XQ38 2.5 power, I think 2.5 power is really going to be the best for all around hunting. That means shooting hogs at 30 yards or a coyote that pops out at 200 yards. I think if you're wanting something that there's a lot of people that coyote hunt, but they say, you know what, I come to Texas once or twice a year to go hog hunt, or I go somewhere to hog hunt, or, I want to be able to call in coyotes, at 30 yards, but, majority of them are popping out at 150. The 2.5 power is going to be your best all around base magnification level to be at, to be able to do anything you want to do. And that's my opinion on the magnification.
I agree with you, but I'm going to give one caveat to that. So I think that's all true, but I think if you are the guy who, let's say, I'm going to go back to, generally speaking, probably a coyote hunter, but if you're going to be taking almost all your shots over 100 yards, then I
Yeah.
think you ought to go ahead and go to the XQ50.
Absolutely.
Okay. I agree with you. This is going to be the best all around. If you're going to be getting them into 50 yards and then maybe getting hung up at 150, 200, I think the XQ38 is the best choice for that. But if you go right off the top, man, we rarely get them under 75 or 100 yards.
Yeah.
Well, then I think the extra magnification is going to be better on the XQ50.
Well,
so I know this wasn't supposed to be a comparison, but I think it's
No.
fair because a lot of people are going to ask that question.
And I really liked hog hunting with that XQ50, and the majority of my shots were 50 yards. I enjoyed it, and I liked it, and enjoyed the extra magnification. You look at other brands, Envision, their Halo LR is 3.5 power. At first, we were like, man, that's a lot of magnification, but we came to find out that it was not bad at all, So, you get used to it, but I think 2.5 power is a good base magnification. But moving on from magnification, we'll talk about it again. For those that are not familiar with the Thermion design, if this is your first time to see a Thermion, if you're on YouTube searching, we're a big fan of the design of this scope. The eye relief is very comfortable. A buddy of mine just picked up an XQ50, and he switched from a trail over to the XQ50, the Thermion XQ50. And he's like, man, I really like the feel of that scope. It feels great on the rifle. It's balanced, well balanced. The eye relief just feels more natural than even the trail model that he had. And he loved his trail thermal scope, his Pulsar trail. But he, was talking about how great the eye relief was on this. Felt more natural, more comfortable. Not to mention, I actually think it looks better now after coming around and not, loving the Pulsar trail design, but coming around to seeing the new Thermion and now actually preferring the look. It looks great on a rifle.
Yeah.
It really
I want
does.
to speak to that for a second. So, I've said this 50 times on here. Hans and I came out early on. We said this design was a mistake. We didn't like the way it looked.
We were wrong. We're okay.
We were wrong. Exactly. It's the first time we were wrong. It's been the last time. But if we're wrong again, we'll let you know. But anyway, but all joking aside, we both really do like it, and I chalk it up to no different than when the truck company comes out with a new body style. Yeah. What does everybody go, golly, I won't ever own one of those. That's so ugly. And about 3 years or maybe less, and you're like, man, that looks good. And the old model looks kind of funny, And so I think that's what this is. I still talk to a lot of people who say, oh man, I want this old design. This doesn't look like a thermal scope. And I just said this.
The brick design?
Yeah, they want the brick. They don't want this design. And so far, I haven't had any hogs complaining about the way it looks. But no. But seriously, we didn't like it originally.
No.
I do like it now. One thing that I like is it's essentially the same weight as like a trail, Pulsar trail, the other models. But what I like is that the weight is distributed throughout the whole scope. You got, you got more weight on the front, more weight on the back. You still have some weight there in the middle along the tube where the batteries are. So it feels very balanced on the rifle rather than just having, I hate to call it a brick, but it is that square blocky design with all the weight right in the middle. I think they feel really good. I like the way they look. I have nothing against the way that a trail or another brand looks. But I've told a lot of guys this that have been like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I like the way that looks. I would absolutely not buy another scope, or I should say not buy a Thermion just because of the way it looks or doesn't look. Because the function is there. And I want to say something, speaking of function, real quick. One of the things that I have really come to appreciate on the Thermions, and I like this personally way better than the trails, which I loved, is on the rear eyepiece. And I'm sure if you're watching on YouTube, Hans will show this. There are 3 buttons, and they're right there in front of where you put your eye. And those 3 buttons control 99% of what you're going to use on a nightly basis. You have a power button. That's obvious. You're going to be turning the unit off. You're going to be turning it on.
I love how they made it blue Like,
They made it blue.
You know, because in
it's
the dark, you know,
exactly.
push the blue button.
But you can feel that button, turn it off and on. Then you've got the two more buttons. One of those buttons is for stopping and starting your video recording. That's logical. The other button is for zooming. You're going to be zooming in and out. And then some people, if they're going to put their scope in a semi-automatic calibration to refresh the thermal core, you're going to use your power button. So that's the only other button you might be using. Now, you've still got all your other menu options up there on the left side of the scope. There's a roller, like a scroll wheel and a push button, and you can get into all that there, and that's fine. That's where you would change, you'd zero, you change your crosshair colors, you do all that stuff. But when you set that, you're generally going to forget it. When you're out there in a normal night, there's no reason most of the time to do anything besides turn it off, turn it on, zoom in, zoom out, and record. Disagree?
No, I think the menu is perfect. I love the dial on the side. It's really not something that you're going to mess with that often. So why not just move it out of the way? Have the three buttons that you need most often right there on the top. It's ambidextrous, so you don't have to, choose a side basically or choose a hand. It's you could use either hand. No, I think it's perfect. You got into this menu thing and balance and all this stuff, and it got me way off train of thought because I was heading in a different direction in this thing.
You were heading it well. We'll change directions. We're known for scatterbarreling it. So
I give you a minute and you take 10, man.
True.
Ask for an inch and take a mile. So the other thing with the likes and talking about the picture. So we all know the Pulsar Thermion XM38, the XM50, they were 320 resolution, 12 microns. I am very glad that Pulsar for the XQ models this year, they went back to the 384 resolution, 17 microns. I think that's a very good picture. If you're familiar with the Thermions and the update, they do have a much sharper image, and this is including the XM models as well, but the new firmware updates has a much sharper image than I would even say the Trails did, even though they had an update too. But the viewfinder screen on it, I feel like is larger when you're holding this thing up to your eye compared to the old Trail models. Seems like the image is closer to your eyeball.
It's also higher resolution, so you got a little better resolution.
Yep. So I do think the picture's good. Jason and I were talking about it before the show. I had this thing out for 2 hours last night, and I was using it as a spotting scope last night before I start mounting and hunting with it. But I had this thing up to my eye, and I felt like a pirate holding a telescope when I was scanning the fields with it, holding it up. But, I think a very conservative ID range is going to be 300 yards, maybe plus,
Yeah, that's conservative.
Very conservative, which is great for, I think, a $3,300 thermal scope. Now, detection range obviously is going to be much further. I don't have a big enough piece of land to test detection range, but
long ways. But hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards.
Yeah, Jason and I have talked about it. And we do feel 300 yards is a very conservative, very, feel comfortable telling everybody that.
Now, we're not saying go shoot that far.
No.
Hans and I always say, you need to max out about 200 yards at night unless, you're just really good.
Yeah,
if you've got a lot of experience.
If you've never
and you're good with your rifle.
Yeah, if you've never shot a thermal scope or hunted at night, a 200-yard shot at night is a lot different than a 200-yard shot during the day with a daytime scope. It is completely different. I'm going to tell you, it's more difficult.
It's also very difficult to judge that distance. That's a whole other topic. But I would say this, and I want to be clear. The way we're saying this, we're not saying like, because we're professionals, I don't do it. I don't shoot 200 yards. I only do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
close my eyes and fire if it's over 200 yards. Just hope and pray. No, I'm joking.
Exactly. I'm not. I don't. It's not my cup of tea. I want to get as close as I can
If I'm
anyway. So
if I'm feeling a little bit frisky, I will take a 200-yard shot. But we don't get that many opportunities to take that. And you know, to me, it's more fun to stalk up close on hogs anyway. You get better video, and we're trying to get video content. You'd rather see a hog at 30 yards rather than 230 yards. But
and even coyotes, we can generally get them in under 200.
yeah.
Most of the time, if they hang up out there, you're fixing to see their tail anyway.
Yeah.
they're fixing
So
to be.
the picture again, I think it's great. You know, the $3,300. We've said it before. We've said it about the XM38, the Thermion XM38. We said it about the Trail XQ38. For $3,300, I do think that this is probably one of the best value scopes you can get on the market. When you combine all the features, functions, you know, the fact that you're getting a good quality thermal scope with a good picture for $3,300, I think it's the best value on the market right now.
Yeah, and you're getting a 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty on the unit. You're getting, you know, Pulsar's customer service, which is known to be excellent. Again, you are going to be dealing only with Pulsar in the United States, based in Mansfield, Texas. So there's a lot of benefits there. You don't have to worry about dealing with somebody overseas. I think overall the Thermions are great units. The XQ38, I think we're just beating it in the ground of how popular it's going to be and already is. But it's got what everybody wants. I mean, it's got the magnification level. Yes, I know that $32.99 is still a lot of money. And a lot of guys have asked me, said, well, why is that price not coming down? You know, we had the Trail XQ38 for that. Then we
did
had
a whole
the
show about that
Thermion
recently.
XM. Yeah, we did. And it's just, but here's what's happening. The quality continues to go up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so you're getting more for your dollar.
No,
I mean,
yeah, you're right, Jason. Let's not overlook the fact that the quality of these thermal optics are going up. And you say, well, how is that possible? It's already been released. How are they? They're doing this, and they're making upgrades through free firmware updates. The beginning
that anybody can do.
Anybody can do. They're making these picture images with the last firmware update, the 4.0, I think it was, drastically better. Doing it for free, improving. They can make the improvements just by software and firmware updates, and it's unbelievable. Yeah. And they're going to keep doing it. You know,
I'm going to say this too, and. If you look at what the Trail XQ38 was when it was released in January of 2017, which, you know, 3.5 years ago now. Is that right? 17.
Yeah, I remember
18,
when you
19,
say, man, this is going to be great. This is going to be,
And, yeah, exactly. And so that unit was great.
Yeah, it was.
It was amazing at the time. It was amazing at $3,300. But when I look back and I look at one of those scopes, that every once in a while I'll come across one that's never been updated, that looks exactly like it did the day it came out.
Yep.
And I look through it. And then you look through one of these new scopes. It's night and day difference. And so I'll tell you something else. It's embarrassing now when I look back at some of our videos that are XQ38 trails, which we thought were great. And they were great videos 3.5 years ago. I mean, at that time, they were unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look at the video quality now that's coming, you're like, oh my goodness, it blows it out of the water. But folks, this is the point, and Hans just made it. This is one of the benefits that I see with Pulsar is they continue to release these firmware updates that are optional. This isn't one of the, I know some people, and I'm kind of this way on stuff, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. You don't have to do these updates. If you don't want to, forget it. I know guys that have owned their scope for 3-4 years, they've never updated it, and that's perfectly fine. But if you want to, if it's an update that, you know, does something that you want, like image quality or whatever, you can do it. It doesn't cost you anything. And we've seen some of these recent updates in the last year be like getting a new scope.
Let me tell you, my buddies, we all, you know, everybody owns that I hunt with or hunt around, all own Pulsar. When there's a new firmware update, dude, it's like Christmas, man. It is. we have like a texting chain tree where everybody's like texting each other at once and like who's going to get home first to do the update. It is unbelievable how many people get excited about this thing. It's like unwrapping the present that you've wanted and you've asked for all year every time they do a firmware update. And I'm not overplaying it. I'm not the type that gets overly excited about things. But everybody's texting it, and when they talk about it, when Pulsar talks about it on social media, there's always a big buzz whenever there's a firmware update. So Jason's exactly right. They're going to keep pushing it. They're going to keep making upgrades and improvements with the units that you already have. And that's, again, the support that you come to expect when you work with a good company. And
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was going to say something good about Outdoor Legacy, saying,
don't
that
do
good
that.
company you expect and the good customer service you expect with Outdoor Legacy as well. But
I appreciate that. I want to speak to one last thing here on the scope. This is something I've been asked about a lot, and we talked about it early here, and I forgot to kind of come back to it, and that's the battery life. I know that there's been a concern that these batteries don't last as long as the Trails did, and that is true. The Trail battery pack system was unbelievable. But can
we talk about the fact that the Trails were discontinued and then Pulsar releases this amazing battery with double battery life? So
that they did. Pulsar actually came out with a new battery pack for the Trails and the Helions that is almost double the battery life that they had before. Same size, same weight, same cost, amazing. Everything, and the battery life got even better. We're hoping something like that one day will happen with the Thermion. But what I wanted to say is, and this is not just a sales pitch or some blanket defense. The battery pack system on the Trails and the Helions is unbelievable. I'll give you that. Pulsar did not have a way to get that exact same battery life packed into these scopes. The room is not there for this sleek, slim design. And we're being, realistic and conservative in normal temperatures, 4.5 to 5 hours. That's still a long time. You still add an extra $99 battery, and you can be looking at easily another 2.5 to 3 hours of battery life. That's putting you into this 7 to 8 hour battery range. That's a long time. And I know there's guys that I talk to and they say, man, we go out at dusk and we don't come in till daylight. Okay, buy one extra battery. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Yeah. It's going to be, and I know people do that and hunt long, long hours. But for the average person, I wouldn't say the average, I would say for the vast majority of people, the scope itself is more than enough battery life if you charge it up before you go. And if you got one spare battery in your pocket, you can more than hunt long enough. And if you're absolutely concerned to death, you buy you a $30 USB battery pack, throw it in your hunting bag, and if you get into an emergency, you can plug that thing in like a spare gas can, and just with a $30 battery pack, you will run that scope. 15, 20, 30, depends on how big the battery is, but I mean, easily run that thing for 12, 15 hours, and you're talking about a $30 battery pack. Again, it's just kind of an emergency gas can. So I just would not get hung up on the battery life because, 4, 5, 6 hours, that's legit.
I think, and that's a great segue into, because this is a review, and with every review, we got to talk about what we would like to see change or something that we wish was changed. The only thing, and we've talked about this before, I think the only thing that we would change is the fact that it does have an internal battery. And, that's the only, I think, bad side or downside to this. We know now why they had to do it. Jason just said it. There's not enough room for extended or big external battery packs. But it does have an internal battery inside that is non-removable. It does concern some people sometimes, that it has an internal battery that, sometimes batteries go bad and, they go out or you have to send it in or whatever. But that's the only thing, I think, the negative that I could find about this scope. I hunt a lot, 6 nights a week. I hunt, I don't pull all-nighters that much anymore. I try not to, but on the weekend I'll stay out a little bit later. I charge it up before I go out. I always have plenty of battery life. Now, I don't leave my scope running or on the whole time. I've got a monocular, so I'm using that to scan, only turning my scope. If I'm, I'll put it in standby mode to save power supply. If I'm out calling hogs or coyotes, I'll keep it on standby. One quick of the press of the power button, it comes right back on. So it's in a standby mode. But it's never really, been an issue for me as far as not enough battery life.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I don't want to dwell on it because I just don't think it's a big issue. But with that said, I think if you're looking for a full feature scope, we've already said, basically what we think the magnification and what that's good for. I'm not going to beat that into the ground, but full featured, meaning the picture-in-picture function, the audio and the video recording. It does have a smartphone app, can be buggy with iPhones sometimes. Not the best for downloading
Don't
video.
buy a scope because it's got an app. Let me just tell you that.
That's just
buy the scope.
No.
Because
buy the scope, based on image quality and everything else. Forget that. If you want to use that, that's fine. But I agree. But all the features, the video recording, the battery packs, the image quality, which is number one, the scope's got it. The warranty, the customer service, all that. This is a package deal, and I understand $32.99 is a lot of money to a lot of people. But if you're in this price range, I would look very, very hard at this scope. And I'll just tell you, this is, we said July 2020. Right now and for the next several months, this is going to be a hard to get scope. Probably, to be honest, through the rest of 2020. I mean, it's just going to be difficult to get, just supply and demand, maybe even going into early 2021. But I will say that it's going to be worth it. You may have to get on a waiting list and wait a little while to get one, especially even as we move into the fall and the winter months when they're really popular. But trust me, it's worth it. And don't get anxious and say, well, I'm going to go buy something else because I can get it today. You're spending a lot of money. You're buying something that you're going to stick with, hopefully a long time, many years. And if you've got to wait a few weeks or even a couple months or whatever it is, really weigh your decision out. And I really think you need to look hard at this scope. And if you've got more questions about it, feel free to call Hans or I at Outdoor Legacy. You can reach us at 877-350-1818. We'd be glad to help you before you pull the trigger and make the purchase. That's what we do, and we're glad to help you do that. If you're looking for another scope, we've talked about the XQ50s, a lot of other options, other brands. Call us, and we're glad to help. You can check us out at outdoorlegacygear.com. And you can call us, I don't know if I said it or not, but it's 877-350-1818. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you're looking for Hans, you can find him on his YouTube channel, Hans ETX. That's HANSETX. You can also find him on Instagram. He's always posting pictures of hogs and coyotes and stuff that he's killed. Like he said, he hunts 6 nights a week, so he's got a lot of photos to post.
I'm gonna give him a shout out, Matt, down in Murchison, Texas. He when I post pictures of hogs or videos, he calls it hog porn. So
he always has some colorful commentary.
He gets his daily dose of hog porn from me from Instagram.
He's excited about it. He sure is. Well, so we appreciate it, and so check out Hans's stuff. He's always got good stuff over there. And anyway, so thanks for checking us out again this week.
Yeah, and for Jason and I, again, this has been the Pulsar Thermion XQ38 review. As Jason said, give him a call. I know you're the main sponsor of this show, but, man, you got a lot of plugs this week. Yeah, you're going to get a big old bill for all the advertising space on this show.
Know.
You got
That's right.
Thank y'all for joining us again. Next week's going to be episode 114 next Thursday, as always, bringing you the latest and greatest from night vision and thermal world, hog hunting, coyote hunting, anything in between. Y'all take care. Stay safe in the fields. Keep making them bacon pancakes.